Here's the title of my paper.
Okay.
It's called Beauty is in the Eye of the Beer Holder.
Okay.
People who think they're drunk also think they're attractive.
I see. People who think they're drunk. Not drunk people, but people who think they're drunk.
Right.
Also think they're...
Yeah.
Interesting. Please, continue.
This is published in the British Journal of Psychology.
Amazing journal. One of my
favorites.
We
here at Recreational Science, we love journals that start with British. British Journal of Sports Medicine,
Very
British Journal of Psychology. This was published in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And it was published by a group in... most of the people are listed in France. One person says Ohio State University.
Okay. The Ohio State University?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Please don't come after us. The Ohio State.
Okay. Very good.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes. Thank you for the correction. Okay. So here's the premise of this paper, okay? There's this popular conception that people, when they're drunk or if they're buzzed or whatever, they get beer goggles on, which basically means that they start seeing a lot of people around them as more attractive than they might be.
Mm-hmm. Has this ever happened to you, Tirth?
Please, I don't drink. No. The time, man.
Has this ever happened to your fiance? Is that why?
No comment.
You guys are together? No? Okay, go ahead. Continue, please.
They asked the companion question to this. Namely, if people are drunk, do they think that they themselves are more attractive than they are?
Oh, so people are actually drunk, not people who think they're drunk.
So actually what's interesting about this study is that they actually did 2 studies as part of this paper. The first study is relatively simple, where people were actually given alcohol. They were told that they were being given alcohol. And so it's very simple.
And they got drunk. The second
study. Yeah, well, they were at a bar.
Or buzzed. Uh-huh.
Yeah, they got buzzed. Okay. They actually measured their blood alcohol.
Oh, they were actually in a bar.
They're actually, they did the first study in a bar.
They didn't build a bar in a lab.
No.
They actually went to a bar.
Yeah, it was a field study, yes.
Okay. Field study. Okay.
Yeah.
So not under controlled environments.
No. That was the first study. The second study was much more controlled.
Okay.
Where they basically posed as this food advertising agency. Okay. And they put out an ad in the paper recruiting people saying, hey, we want you to come over and try and taste this new non-alcoholic beverage.
Okay.
And compare it to the alcoholic beverage and see which one you like better.
Okay.
So they had these people come in.
I like this. See, this is the thing with psychology that I mentioned before. There's always
I know exactly. Yes,
an element of trickery.
Yeah. You said like they would record them and whatever. Yeah, so that's what they did. So they had them come in. They split them into 2 groups. Beautiful. The entire first group was getting alcohol. Okay. Mm-hmm. But half of the people in that group were actually told, you're not getting alcohol.
Okay.
The second group was they were not getting alcohol at all. They were getting a beverage that tasted like alcohol.
Okay.
And within that group, half of the people were told, hey, you're actually getting booze. The other half were told, you're getting the non-alcoholic beverage.
Okay.
Okay.
So 4 groups total?
Yeah.
One group got alcohol, told they were getting alcohol.
Yes.
One group got alcohol, told they were not getting alcohol.
Yes.
One group got fake alcohol, but told they were getting real alcohol. Yeah. One group who got fake alcohol, told they were getting non-alcoholic drinks.
That's correct.
Okay.
So they had them drink this
Beautiful.
thing. Then they said, hey, listen, as part of this study, we want you to film an ad for this company, this food company. So they filmed them. Okay. And then they said, hey, watch yourself on film and rate yourself as to how attractive you think you are. But
I love it.
It doesn't stop here, man. It doesn't stop here. This is so freaking cool. Uh-huh. They then had an independent panel of judges who were not told ahead of time anything about who got alcohol and who didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, here's a bunch of videos of people.
Mm-hmm.
And in your best judgment, you can decide who's drunk and who's not drunk and then rate their attractiveness.
Okay. Very good.
I was hoping they used chickens, but they didn't.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's actually very interesting. The other thing that I really liked about the methods here is they actually admit this openly. They're like, one of the limitations of the second study is that people who drink, they can usually suss out if the drink they're drinking is alcoholic or not, because the taste is different, the smell might be different.
Mm-hmm.
So they said what they did is the non-alcoholic drink, they sprayed the rim with alcohol.
Oh.
So that they would smell it.
It's very clever.
And then the
These
people
man,
who were getting, yeah, exactly. This is
psychologists
very cool.
are the best scientists. I'm going to say that right now on the record.
They thought of everything, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the people who were getting alcohol but were told they were not getting alcohol, they basically said, "Oh, the drink is so good, it tastes like alcohol, but there's no alcohol in it." Okay. So that's the setup here. The other thing I want to mention here is the number of people they use, because we talked about N with the first with the paper you presented.
Very important.
The first study where they just went to like the local bar and they had people and then they had them fill out like self-evaluations. They used 19 customers, and they're all 63% of them were men.
Okay.
And they received a lottery ticket for their participation.
Okay. Not like a free drink.
No, a lottery ticket.
A lottery ticket. Okay.
Okay. So that's the setup here.
Mm-hmm.
You want to dive into the results?
Please.
Or do you have any questions before we move on?
Please, I'm dying to hear the results.
Okay. So perhaps not surprisingly, the first study where they went into the bar room and they gave the people there just self-evaluations, they basically found that higher the blood alcohol level, the more attractive participants thought they were.
Okay, but
yeah.
Did they have a separate panel of judges determine whether these people were actually attractive? Because what if more attractive people were drinking more at that bar?
Wow.
Maybe people were buying them drinks. You should have been part of
this study. They actually mentioned that at the very end. They're like, one of the limitations of the first study is that attractive people tend to go to bars more.
Yeah, and drink more at the bars because maybe people are giving them free drinks.
That's exactly... Well, yeah, they didn't mention that, but they said being attractive. Yeah.
Confounding factor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, Is this something you're familiar with? Because I'm not.
Of course.
Oh.
I've never had to pay for a drink at a bar.
Wow. Please. My experience is the exact opposite. They often charge me double.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. And for watered down drinks.
Okay.
Half the alcohol, double the price.
In an attempt to get you to leave.
Indeed.
I see. It's very unfortunate.
I'll just throw out some stats here, okay? This was a simple linear correlation where they looked at blood alcohol level and self-reported attractiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And often we use something called an R, like an R factor.
Yep.
R was 0.56 here, which is actually a fairly
quite
strong
high.
Correlation. Yeah. Just for the listeners out there, 1 would be perfect correlation, 0 would be no correlation, meaning the two things you're measuring are random. 0.5 is somewhere in between. So 0.56 in a dirty experiment like this is actually pretty good.
So in this correlation, on the x-axis will be blood alcohol level.
Yeah.
And on the y-axis is their self-rated attractiveness.
Perceived attractiveness, yeah.
The other thing with R you can do is if you square the R, that gives you an estimate of how much of the y variable, the dependent variable, can be explained by the x variable, the independent variable.
Which in this case, doing some dirty math, it comes out to 0.025. 0.25, sorry.
0.25, yeah. So about 0.25. So meaning 25% of the variability in people's self-judgment of their attractiveness can be explained by blood alcohol levels.
Straight up blood alcohol level.
Which is quite robust. Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. They even have a p-value here, just noting significance, 0.012.
Very good. So armed with this information...
Yes, they moved on to study 2.
Proceeded to study 2. Okay.
Yeah, which is a lot more rigorous.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. So as I already mentioned, they chose 94 men. Participants were recruited via newspaper advertisements, and they were paid 14 euros an hour, which comes out to $21 an hour.
Oh, it's pretty good.
Not bad. Not bad. And then, like I said, they formed a fake research firm for a food company.
Okay, just as a reminder, there are 4 categories, right?
Yeah.
People who got real alcohol and were told they got real alcohol.
Yeah.
People who got real alcohol but told they weren't getting real alcohol.
Yeah.
People who got fake alcohol but told they were getting real alcohol. And then people who got fake alcohol but were told they were getting non-alcoholic drinks.
Correct.
Okay.
So here's the results, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So people who got alcohol and who were told they got alcohol, they rated themselves, these are all median values, I think, was 3.96 on a scale of 1 through 7. So they rated themselves as a 4, okay?
Mm-hmm.
People who got alcohol but were told that they didn't get alcohol rated themselves 3.86. Okay, now people who got no alcohol but were told they got alcohol they rated themselves at 3.42.
Oh, okay.
People who got no alcohol but were told, and were also told they got no alcohol, rated themselves at 3.09.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
After they did all the stats, here's what they found. People who thought they were getting alcohol rated themselves as more attractive than people who didn't think they were getting alcohol.
Okay.
Regardless of whether they actually got alcohol or not.
Okay.
Okay.
I see. Okay. So just being told they were getting alcohol matters more.
That's correct.
Than actually getting alcohol.
Yes.
In terms of how highly they rated themselves.
Yes. Belief, they just believed that they were getting alcohol.
I see.
And that alone was more than enough for them to say, hey, I'm more attracted than I am.
Very good. Very good.
So obviously, as you may recall, the second part of this study is they recorded them and they had independent judges look at this and rate the people as well.
Okay.
What they basically found is that there's no difference.
No difference
in the attractiveness, in how the judges rated these people, whether or not they were drunk, whether or not they were given alcohol or not, whether or not they were told they got alcohol or not.
I see.
None of that mattered.
Amongst the 4 different conditions,
yes,
the attractiveness of the people in the 4 conditions were the same, according to the judges. I see. Yes. Okay.
So anyway, the main conclusion they're drawing from this is that this effect that we see in society, or I guess at different bars or social settings, that people who drink think that they might be more attractive than they are, seems to be largely driven by their perception of whether or not they have alcohol or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they're just kind of fooling themselves.
Mm-hmm. What practical value does this study have? How can listeners use this information to their advantage?
Well, I'll say this: if our listeners are going out on going out tonight or having a great night on the town, just like you and I used to back in the day, Lou, they should just look in the mirror before they leave and say, "You were drunk," and I think that'll do the trick.
To give themselves a boost of confidence.
Yeah, they don't even have to say you're confident, you're attractive, you're powerful. None of that stuff, okay? Just look in the mirror and say, you are a drunk.